Hello, this is a tutorial video for adding a new employee in Employee Tracker. First, click on the Employee shortcut. Next, click on the Add button. This will give you a blank profile to be completed. In the top left of the screen, you'll see a list with little checkboxes. This is designed to help you visit each page and make sure that you enter all the mandatory information. The employee code is the code used to identify the employee. It should be the same code that you use in your payroll software. When we export the employee profiles or the time cards, the employee code allows the information to get to the right employee on the other side. The badge number is usually the same as the employee code, just without any leading zeros. This number is used during the time clock enrollment process, as well as the login for the employee self-service portal. Enter the employee's first name and last name. When you get to the report name, the system will autofill this field with last name, comma, space, first name. This is our standard format, and we recommend continuing to use this. This is how the employee will appear in your employee list and in reports. Once this page is complete, go to the next page, which is address. Enter the employee's home address here. You have 2 lines to enter all the information required. Enter the employee's city, their province of residence, and their postal code. Select the employment province. Usually this is the same as the province of residence, but in some rare cases it can be different. When this is finished, go to the next page, personal contact. For the phone numbers, the only number that will interface with your payroll software is the home number. So if you only have one phone number for the employee, enter it here in the home number. This can also be viewed as a primary number. For the emails, only one email will export to your payroll software. Use the first email field. This is the default field. It is possible to use the secondary email to export. If you'd like to do this, please contact your Advanced Tracker trainer or the help desk. The email field is especially important if you plan on doing emailed pay stubs, as this is the email that will be used to send the pay stub to the employee. When complete, go to the defaults page. Here you can select the default settings for this employee. Start with the shift. Next, select the default department. All of the employee hours will be associated with that department by default. It is possible for an employee to work in multiple departments or be scheduled in multiple departments, but their default department will always be whatever is selected here. Next, choose the status. Employees could either be active hourly, active salary, inactive terminated, leave hourly, and leave salary. The A at the beginning of this code is for active, the I is for inactive, and the L is for leave. So if we're adding a new employee, likely they will be active hourly or active salary. Along with this status designation, a little bit lower here we have an active code, A, I, or L. These correspond with the codes in the status, A, I, and L. In general, you'll always want these codes to match. So if we're adding an active employee, our active code will be A. If we're terminating an employee, our active code would be I. Along the same lines, we have a pay type field over here on the right. It can either be hourly or salary. Again, in general, if your status here is salary, your pay type here should be salary. If your status here is hourly, your pay type here should be hourly. The supervisor fields are optional, and you may not need to use them in your setup. But if you are using a supervisor structure, The first field here is asking, is this person a supervisor? Yes or no? So my new employee that I'm adding, are they a supervisor? No. The next field is, who is this employee's supervisor? So when we click here, we will be presented with a list of all the supervisors in the program, and we can assign a supervisor here. For the default time calculation rule, in general, you can leave this on no default time calculation rule. This means that the rule will come from the shift when the employee works. In rare cases, you may designate a rule here directly in the profile that will override the shift rule. But again, in general, leave this the way that it is and everything should be fine. The whole second half of this page is regarding the stat holiday pay, stat holiday entitlement. So the first question is this employee eligible for holiday pay? And you can toggle this from no to yes. In general, an hourly employee is eligible and a salary person is not. They're simply being paid their recurring salary, whether there's a holiday or not. We are adding an hourly employee, so I'm going to make this a yes. Next, enter the stat holiday eligible date. This date simply needs to be before the next holiday that you want this employee to be eligible for. In general, you can choose the employee's hire date. Next, choose the stat holiday rule for this employee. Your setup should be set up with standard holiday rules for your province. So select that. Next, we have to set up the minimum pay hours and the maximum pay hours. What this is a range of hours that the stat calculation will calculate within. So normally we would put a 0 here and any number in the maximum pay hours that will allow the employee to be paid their full stat entitlement. Again, these hours have nothing to do with what an employee normally works. This is not the minimum or maximum that they can be paid in a day for their worked time. It is simply a range for the stat holiday calculation. So a 0 here is always okay, and you just want to make sure that this number is high enough for your company. Could be 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours. It will simply calculate between this number and this number when it's time to calculate the stat holiday for the employee. In the rare case that you bank stat pay, you can use this field to tell the system what to do with the stat holiday entitlement when it is calculated. In general, this should be never for everybody. In rare cases, you can choose an alternate option. So if the employee works, bank their stat pay. Always bank their stat pay, or only bank their stat pay if they are not scheduled to work. Again, in general, this is usually a never. When this page is complete, go to the next page, Positions. In the Positions page, you can add the positions that the employee is able to work. If you're not using positions, it's still a good idea to add a not applicable position. If you have multiple positions, simply checkbox the checkboxes that that employee is able to work and click Done. At the bottom of the page, you can select a default position. When this is complete, click on the next page, Premiums. In most cases, you can skip this page. Some premiums are applied to a shift that's worked, and that's the most common situation. And some premiums are applied directly to the employee profile. This is where you would do that. In general, you can skip this page. If you need premiums, please ask your trainer or the help desk, and they can help you ensure that these premiums are assigned the correct way, either in the profile or in the shift. When this is complete, click on the next page, Dates. On this page, you can enter all the important dates related to the employee. There are 3 dates that are more important than the others. They are the hire date, the birth date, and the seniority date. When adding a new employee, the hire date and the seniority date will usually be the same. The birth date is the employee's birth date. Sometimes it's easier to select a date and simply adjust here. The reason these 3 dates are important is that they often will interface with your payroll software. All of the other dates can be used for information purposes, but they won't link with your payroll. In the event that an employee is laid off or on leave, you can put a date here and a reason for the layoff or the leave. The same goes for a termination. You can enter the termination date here and put a reason for the termination. If an employee goes on leave or is terminated, and then they return to work for your company, please make sure that you adjust the hire date to be their date when they return to work. This hire date can also be called the start date and is often used in many payroll systems and called the start date. In this case, you would have a new and updated start date, but your seniority date would remain the same. When this page is complete, go to the next page, External Employee Data. The main use for the External Employee Data page is for the employee's web password. You'll only need to use this if you are using the employee self-service portal. When the employee logs into the portal, they'll enter their badge number that we saw on the information page, as well as a password. Once the employee logs in, they can change their password, and you'll always be able to visit this page to see what that password is, to change it, or to remind the employee of what it is in case they forget. In this case, I'm going to add the number 11, the same as the badge number. So when I ask the employee to log into the self-service for the first time, I'll want to provide their badge number 11 and their password, welcome 11. When this page is complete, click on the next page, Rate History. You only need to complete the rate history page for hourly employees. This is only for hourly rates. All of your salary rates and wages are directly in the payroll system. To add an hourly rate, click the Add button. Choose a date when that rate becomes effective. Enter the rate and click OK. As of this day, the employee's rate will be $15 per hour. One nice feature about this rate history page is you can add future rates if you know when they will occur. So if we know that this employee will receive a raise in 3 months, we can go ahead and add that. This rate will only come into effect as of September 1st. You can leave the fields below as they are with their default settings. No step rate, rate source, use system default. In some rare cases, we may need to play with these settings, but in general, it's enough to just put the hourly rate up here like this. Once you've visited all pages and entered all the data, you should have check marks beside each line. Click Exit and your employee profile will be saved. If you want to make a change or edit anything in the profile, you can always go back to the employee profile by double-clicking, and now you can go into the various fields and make adjustments as needed. You have successfully added an employee in the Employee Tracker program. If your profiles are interfacing with the payroll system, at this point you can click the Export button to send all of the profiles to the payroll and synchronize the profiles. On the other side, you may need to receive the profiles, at which point you can enter the social insurance number of the employee, as well as the direct deposit banking information. If you're using the time banking module, there's an extra step when adding the employee that we're going to go look at now. If you're not using time banking, you can ignore this next step. So when using time banking, when you add your new employee, there will be an extra line here, an extra page called Time Banks. When you get to this page, click the Add button and select the banks that this employee is entitled to. If you have any additional adjustments for the bank opening balance, you can do those now. If you're using the Employee Self-Service module, don't forget to go to the Inquiry Master program and give your new employee access to the functions that they need in the self-service portal. If you're not using the self-service portal, ignore that last message, and that's all you need to do. Thank you for watching.